Yes, evening, people. How are we all doing? Hope you're all well. Big up to all of you for being here. Big up to all the panel. Big up to everybody. Listen, we got a lot to talk about. There's a lot to get through. We're going to talk a little bit about Southgate in England. We're going to talk a little bit about Archie Gray moving to Spurs, it seems. We're going to talk about Dewsbury-Hall and what Dan and Locks think of that. Chelsea to, or should I say Leicester to Chelsea. We're going to talk about Jadon Sancho, who apparently is up for grabs. We're going to talk a little bit about Jared Branthwaite, Man City and Manchester United. I've got to talk about Yamal because last night's performance was ridiculously good. Big up to all of you for being here. Big up to everyone who's come over from Just Joe, a Just Joe raid. Big up to yourself, Joe. It's been a while, man. How are you, bro?
Yeah, really, really good, man. It's been a mad 24, 48 hours being a Leeds fan and an England fan and someone that's backed Southgate on a number of occasions. So I was taking a lot of heat till the 96th minute, but we moved, man. Tactical genius, made sure we had 2 subs going into... I'm joking, man. Dan, I'm joking. But yeah, listen, happy days. Not happy about PSR now. It's affecting my club, but hey-ho, it is what it is.
Yeah, man, we're going to get into that, bro. Dan, how you feeling, my bro?
Yeah, just about recovered from Nottingham, mate. Still struggling with that, to be fair. But yeah, all good. I don't know. Last night was just horrendous. I'm sure we'll touch on it in a bit, but my God! And I'll tell you something now. This guy is going to spawn us to the final, 100%.
We're going to stink our way to winning it, Dan. We're going to stink our way to winning the fucking Euros. France aren't much better, by the way. But they're saying the same over there. Deschamps is a carbon copy of bloody Southgate, but he's won things. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Sorry.
Yeah, well, we're going to get into it. Dan, Chelsea are always spoken about, mate, every single day at the moment. Chelsea and transfer window is just like... I think Chelsea are the only ones aware that the transfer window's open, mate. But how are you, bruv?
Yeah, all right, mate. It's been busy, isn't it? It just seems non-stop news coming out of my club at the moment. So, yeah, it's hard to keep up with. I feel like today they've announced about 3 new players and a new shirt and a training kit and a sponsor. So it's just nuts. But yeah, obviously last night on a high from that. So yeah, buzzing to be on, mate, chatting about transfers and all that stuff.
Mate, absolutely pleasure to have you as always, mate. Locks back on the show, man. Must mean Leicester are back. What's happening, bruv? You good?
Yeah, man. I thought this was the Premier League show until I saw Joe show up. So, but yeah, it's good to be back there, Dan, mate. It's been a long time, and I think I was only on with you like twice, and then we got relegated. So, yeah, look forward to it, mate.
This is Leicester got no fans, mate. Here's what it is.
Come on, man. Always welcome. I love getting you two on together because it's all love. It's banter, but it's all love. But
yeah, man.
Listen, we are going to be all together for the first thing that we talk about, which is of course Gareth Southgate, England. Let me come to Locks first.
He's a Welshman. He's a Welshman, by the way, Dan. Just put out there, he's right. Welsh. Yeah, you didn't know this.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll come to him first anyway. Is this Gareth Southgate? Is this the players, or is this a bit of both, bruv? What's happening?
Oh, I don't know, man. I mean, I know Joe's a massive fan of Southgate, aren't you, mate? Nah, I'm joking. You have been before, but yeah, it's just same old, really. Isn't it? I know, obviously, in the past few tournaments, you've reached the final and the semi-finals and all of that, but yeah, I don't know who is to blame it. I mean, you've got this, no doubt for me, obviously the best squad. It's the best national team squad. In the world, in the competition. So you'd think that you should be making the final or winning it, but yeah, something just feels off this tournament. It's worse than previous tournaments. I can't put my finger on it. Obviously, watching as a neutral, it's quite enjoyable, but yeah, I think
a Welshman neutral. What a load of rubbish! A Welshman neutral. Come on.
Yeah. Now, what I will say though, I agree with what you were alluding to, what Joe was saying as well. Like, it's just football, typical football. If the one tournament that you are really shit under Southgate, you actually go and win it, and obviously with the side of the bracket you're on. It could happen. So Switzerland will be tough though. So that'll be an interesting one. They've been really good. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see, mate. But as a neutral, and it is a neutral, Dan, it's enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you what. The way we're playing, I actually think Switzerland will end up bloody beating us. The way we're playing, mate, it is that shocking. It is
They won't
embarrassing.
go down. We'll watch it. We'll pull a madness against Switzerland. It'll just happen. Like we keep talking about, it's gonna click. It's got to click. He got it wrong, right, from the moment he named the squad. Not taking a fit left back, having to push poor eye Trips out there to do a job. Trippier, who by the way has come back from injury, he didn't take Branthwaite, a left-footed centre back. He took Konza, world-class Konza, who we're all going to be putting our faith in come bloody Saturday. I just think he's got it all wrong. Like I think the whole trying the Trent Alexander-Arnold fucking thing in the first 2 games, then bringing Conor Gallagher in, realising that didn't work. I just don't understand what he's doing. I just don't get it. And like Harry Kane has come in for so much stick, and I get it to a certain extent, but every time Harry Kane gets that ball up top, there's no one running past him. No one goes past him. Our wingers seem knackered. It's baffling. And yesterday, I'm so glad. Me and the wife were at the pub watching it. 80th minute, I said, come on, we're going. I can't do this. I'm not watching this. I'm so glad that I had a bit of old mate cider left because I'd have been gone. But it's going to spawn his way to that final. You can just see it. And I don't know. I honestly feel like they're playing like Manchester United under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Just moments of magic seem to carry us through. We shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be. The squad of players we've got, the midfield, every person in the world can see Declan Rice, Bellingham, Foden in that midfield. Do it. Unleash him. But he just doesn't want to do it.
It's actually like quite embarrassing how much he's got wrong. Like Joe, I know you were bigging him up only last year or whatever it was we last on having that
last
debate.
Last week he was bigging him up.
I'm gonna big him up again in a sec. Like, look, at the end of the day.
Oh my God!
Hear what I've got to say. Right. The reason that I big Southgate up is nothing to do with his tactical acumen because he don't really have hope. It's. Listen, I'm a passion merchant, if you like. Vibes. Yeah. At the end of the day, as an England fan, and I'll still come back to this. We all look similar ages, some a little bit older than others, but we're all around about the same era, I would assume, give or take. As an England fan, he's give you the best time over the last 8 years or whatever it is, yeah? He's give you the best time, he's the most successful manager since Sir Alf Ramsey, yada, yada, yada. We can do all that, it's facts, right? Generations today will be one but that's, it is what it is, I hear you. They're only around every couple of years, so it's difficult, and only one team can win a tournament. There's not several cups available, But this tournament has been really, really bad. And for me, who backed us to win it, who looked at the squad, I think where I'm at with it is previously there wasn't a level of expectancy. No, when he first came in during that World Cup and we did as well as we were, no one expected it. And now he's come 8 years, he's into a cycle. He's now got even better players that are playing at the top of the game, at the elite clubs. It should be better. And I think what the frustrating thing for me is I'm watching it and I'm going, like, I put a tweet out saying, how and why is he letting his tenure end like this? Because he built up so much credit, regardless of what you think of the tactics. What I've just mentioned to you about having the best time as an England fan, I will remember Southgate fondly for that. Because I'll be like, you know what? I actually enjoyed tournaments for once. I actually enjoyed them. But the fact that he's almost like just froze and said, I don't know what I'm doing anymore, so I'm just going to... Like, the no changes thing was wild. We can all now say, well, he was vindicated because them 2 players scored, but they shouldn't have been on the pitch, really. And had we have changed it sooner, we might not have had to get such a late goal. We might have got it sooner, you know what I mean? So we'll never know. He'll feel vindicated for it, but if you'd have changed it sooner and played Gordon and done other things, we might have even won 2 or 3 in normal time. You just don't know, do you? And you'll never know that. But I'll shot this back to you, Dan, as well, like, if you don't mind, because I can see you're frustrated, and I get it, because I was yesterday. I did the game on my channel. I was boiling. But if he shithouses it, like you mentioned, and we win it on penalties, does it matter? Because it won't for me, because we'll be European champions. And that's what I think about.
100%, Joe. Look, if we do that and we win on penalties and we win the tournament, of course I'm going to be happy. But I tell you something, I don't think my doctor will be, because I can't take this. I can't take watching these games. It's so bad, and it's like I watched it so many times in the last 3 games. We have a corner within 3 passes. It's back to Pickford. There's no. It seems it's almost like you want the players to just go, do you know what? Bollocks to this. Let's go. Let's attack. I don't get it. Like I understand, and I've looked at the stats. So in tournament football with Southgate, defensively in group stages we are incredible. And we were this time. Conceded, was it 1 goal? 1 goal in the group. Fewest shots against. But I just kind of feel like it's a tough one. I've heard so many pundits say, wait until we play a team that's more open and expansive. Well, I'm sorry, Slovakia did that last night, and they carved us open time after time after time. Kyle Walker, I don't know what the hell happened to him last night. So dependable normally for England.
So bad.
100%. And I just don't know, mate. I don't know. I think he's got to be more braver. He's got to be brave. He's brought these players. He's made the decision to not take Rashford, not take Grealish, to bring the likes of Gordon, but he's not used them. So what was the point in bringing these poor lads? I don't get it.
Do you think as well, like, because we were all expectant going into this tournament, do you think that's affecting him and the players as well? Because it were never there before. Like you've mentioned, Kyle Walker. I mean, even Kyle Walker in his post-match interview at Denmark when he went, it's a tough place to come, I was like, fucking, what are you on about? You're in Germany playing Denmark. Like, what are you going on about? So it's almost like it's got to them. And you've seen Bellingham's reaction to it when he scored, and now we're getting in shit. I hate this, by the way. It's like people are ready to really turn the screw as well. So I was actually... I didn't mind the Bellingham stuff. People are saying it's arrogant. So what? Like, I like
completely
it.
Agree, Joe.
Up. Yeah.
Joe, you score an overhead kick with the last kick of the game. They talk about football being turned into robots. Well, bollocking him for this is exactly what that's doing. Honestly, Christ almighty, I'd have had my whole kit off. I'd have had my boxes and everything off. I'd have done that. I'd have been helicoptering in the camera, mate. In the camera.
Listen, I think we are, as a fan base, really harsh on a lot of the players. And we've done it for decades, by the way. And I said this on my show. I said that the Declan Rice stuff, like, that he was getting, Skull was coming out and starting giving it to him. And then he's just like, for me, he was probably the best player yesterday.
He looked silly, though, didn't he? Because didn't the stats say the opposite, Dan?
The stats said the opposite. Well, Paul Scholes is one of the best footballers I've ever seen, but he's not one of the best pundits I've ever seen, that's for sure. The guy's a clown. Like, let's be real. He's
all that toe eating, innit? It's all that toe eating.
Stop.
all that toe funguy's gone to his head, man. I'm telling you.
I'll tell you what, though. I think the ref got it wrong last night as well. The ref made a point of, like, the first 3 challenges, yellow, 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 and then their boy did 3 that were definite yellows, didn't send him off. I kind of feel like the ref tried to
I don't know how
to start. Yeah,
I
don't
we're
get
going to
it.
lose. We're going to get about 3 players sent off here. The way he was going, like, he was just dishing them out. But listen, I mean, like, I'll come to you, other Dan. There's too many Dans on the panel in there again. I'll come to you, Dan, because I must say, bro, I thought he got everything wrong yesterday, Southgate. I thought it was actually quite embarrassing. Like, I know we went through, and I get what Joe's saying. If you win on penalties, who cares? I still want him gone after the tournament, even if we win it, because it's awful to watch. I can't stand it. And if I'm honest with you, the only thing that I will actually give him credit for is if we win it. Otherwise, I'm going to give him a load of stick because it's been horrendous so far. This has been the worst tournament since I can remember. I go back as far as 96, Euro 96, I remember, as the first one, which I loved, by the way. This is the worst, man. This is like, and I've seen McLaren football.
I think
I've
2016,
bloody
under
Capello.
2014, I think, the World Cup in Brazil.
Do you know what? 2014, 2016, we played better than this. And then we went out. We were awful.
It'd have been worse than Iceland. I think it'd have been worse than Iceland.
Yesterday,
yesterday we go out. It'd have been worse than Iceland.
Yeah.
And it would have been worse
I agree.
Worse than Capello, worse than all this stuff, right? That for me. So that's the first point I want to make. The other point I want to make, Dan, which I don't get, is his team selection. Now, I understand that you have to pick the best players on the pitch, but at least put them in the best positions, yeah? Because we're flinging people on. If I see Trippier at left back again, it is going to be a worry because Foden on that left-hand side is cutting inside. Nothing wrong with that. But it's allowing all that space for Trippier to run into, and he's not allowing him to because he's got no left foot. So he's cutting back in and going backwards again.
Horrible. Yeah.
I've never seen. I mean, some of the performances, by the way. Let's get this out of the way. Some of those individual performances yesterday were shambles. I'll say this: I've not seen John Stones have a game like that before. I've not seen Kyle Walker that poor. If that's Trent, he's getting absolute pelters. He would get absolutely taken to the cleaners if that was a performance of Trent yesterday. Walker was diabolical, absolute shambolic, right? So we can talk about some of the individual performances. For me, though, Gareth Southgate, he's staying, he's waiting. Trippier gets injured. I'll better make a sub then. Like, come on, man. Do something. Something's not working here, clearly. And then he brings on Ivan Toney with 30 seconds to go.
That's the thing, isn't it, Dan?
Honestly,
When he'd made that one change, you're actually looking back going, and he's only made that because he got forced to make it because of Trippier's injury.
This is the problem. When I'll come to you, Dan. Like, I'm kind of done with him. I honestly, I don't even look forward to these games now.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think I'd echo absolutely everything you said. I think the issue is for most of us is that we can all see here the talent that's in this team. The fact that Southgate's lack of tactical nous is probably limiting this squad so much. The issue I've got is I kind of went back to the last World Cup and the Euros just to look back at how we played. And I felt like he was actually getting it right more than he was getting it wrong against the smaller sides. And then we struggled in the games against the bigger sides to create when they made it a little bit more tougher for us. And then this time, I feel like he's been so worried about how we've performed against the bigger sides and failed to control games when we've gone against the Belgiums and the France and even the Germany game we didn't control, but that wasn't the best Germany side. We just were very strong in transition in that game. But now, because he's kind of removed that side of our game as well, which was strength, power, working well on the transition, pressing aggressively, not necessarily high, but aggressively to win the ball back in areas that allowed us to break with the likes of Rashford and the likes of Saka even at the World Cup. Like I feel like Southgate's had this obsession this tournament with being able to control a game because we failed to do it in previous tournaments, but we've lost everything that's been good about the last few tournaments we've had under him. And then we've got this controlled, slow possession football that he's trying to implement. But because he's not a good tactical coach, the players are almost unaware of how they are meant to be going about this style of football that Southgate's trying to implement on the squad. And I'm really struggling with it because there's a way to play if you're going to control the game, and it isn't how England are doing at the moment. We're so slow. After we scored that first goal against Serbia, I was like, here we go. We're going to light this tournament up. That's a great goal.
That first 30 minutes, Dan. Honestly, first 30 minutes. We were unreal.
I was there in Gelsenkirchen. It was rocking. As soon as that goal went in, it just fell off. No one in the stadium could believe it. Like, we've got this whole tournament in front of us. Our star boys just scored. You think like we could do anything. I did not see the next 3 games coming at all. And I completely agree with you in terms of the team selection. I think he's tried 4 games now, pretty much the same team. When he's brought on substitutes, they've arguably had better cameos than who they've come on for or the position they've gone into. And he's still reluctant to give him a chance to start on the 90th minute. It's almost like he's so owing to some of these players that have got him to where he is in terms of his name that he just doesn't
100%.
want to remove them. And that's why last night he was so adamant that Kane was going to get him through. He was so adamant that Bellingham was going to do something. He's adamant that he can trust Trippier and Kyle Walker. Like, you'll never see another goalkeeper play than Jordan Pickford because he never made a mistake. And if Harry Maguire weren't injured, he'd be playing every single game too. Gehi wouldn't have had a chance. So this is where I'm struggling with Southgate because he's got all these loyalties to these players, like your Declan Rice now, even Calvin Phillips, who he's mentioned about how much he's missed him. I mean, we can touch on Calvin Phillips because I've done some research into Calvin and why he might have made that comment because I was sort of baffled by it as well. But actually, that Calvin Phillips at that time under Southgate was actually instrumental to how Southgate wanted his England team to play. And there was a reason that Calvin Phillips was England's Player of the Year 2 years in a row. And we're talking about a Calvin Phillips that wasn't the West Ham Calvin Phillips. We're talking about Bielsa's Calvin Phillips, which was a different animal and a player that in transition received the ball off of players like Declan Rice, players like Kyle Walker. They'd give the ball to Calvin Phillips. You can go back and watch the last couple of, maybe not the last World Cup because I don't think he was instrumental, but the Euros before that. Calvin Phillips was the reason England in transition was so dangerous. He
Damn.
moved the ball from the players like Declan Rice and the players like Kyle Walker, who are limited in progressing the ball forwards, and Calvin Phillips would link up the play to Harry Kane, your Rashfords, your Sterlings, if you like, and he was so good at that. And I can see what Southgate's saying by that. I think it's just the issue, isn't it, is that recency bias suggests that with Calvin Phillips is like, how could you miss Calvin Phillips when he can't even get in a David Moyes side?
But Dan, I agree. Everything you've said there, I completely agree. And do you know what bollocks him was the move to City? Because he moved to City before the 2022 World Cup. So he was out of form, out of sorts. That's where it ruined him.
Overweight.
Him not playing, overweight apparently, it completely destroyed him. Calvin Phillips did for England. I'm not saying he's anything like Rodri in that sense, but the job that Rodri does, that's what Calvin Phillips did. He did that for England, picked the ball off the back three or back four, and started just building and building. He was that last
almost
line for
more
us.
Dynamic than Rodri. Like he wasn't as
Agreed.
restricted because he was allowed to
Agreed.
break the lines, whereas Rodri will normally do like the Rice job and sit a bit more, and allow like look at Spain. Fabian will break forward more than Rodri, and obviously Rodri's got a fantastic knack for scoring goals. But yeah, honestly, Calvin Phillips, if you can go back and look and you can see why Southgate's missed him in his side. And I genuinely think because of losing Calvin Phillips, he's genuinely potentially tried changing his style and it's hindering England rather than helping us. The issue we've all got, though, is like, okay, we clocked that game one. Why on earth are you still persisting with it? And why are you still persisting with some of the players? He's been rewarded for persisting now, by the way. So he ain't changing. He's not changing.
As well, like, just to jump in on the Calvin stuff, I agree with everything you just said, Dan. And listen, even as a Leeds
that's mad,
fan,
isn't it? Chelsea and Leeds
yeah.
agreeing.
And even as a massive Calvin Phillips fan, it was comical that he made them comments because one, he could have fucking took him because he played more games than what Luke Shaw did. So if he was that pivotal to your system, you should have took him. No, he did, though. He'd played more football this season than Luke Shaw, and you've took Luke Shaw.
I'm only joking.
No, I know, Dan, right? But he should have took him then. Like, if you've got the bottle, he should have had that bottle to say and you'll see the reason why I'm taking Calvin, because this is why. Like, he'd have got pelters for it, and he has had a shocking season. I don't think he should have gone, by the way, but my point is, that's when I thought, oh my God, he's not really said that. And what does that do for those in the squad, your Mainus, your Whartons, etc., you know? It was a wild statement, and that's when you're looking at it going, oh my God, that's why I was sort of wounded when, angry, but also wounded for Southgate. So I thought, I've enjoyed your time as manager, and you're going to let it end like this, and you'll only be remembered for this. And you're going to be mocked and, and all this. And I feel a little bit sorry for him, dare I say it. So I hope he ends on a high.
Right. What the thing is with me, when you make those Calvin Phillips comments, I understand what you guys are getting at. This is why he's missed him. This is the Calvin Phillips of old. But his midfield is pretty good, right?
True.
His midfield is Rice, Kobe Mainu, who I thought was actually all right yesterday, by the way. I feel they've got Foden. Yeah, you did as well. You got Foden, you got Bellingham. And he's moaning we haven't got Calvin. That was why it was comical. The other thing I'll say is I don't really understand. I mean, let's talk before we close on this and get to the transfer news. What do we want to see starting 11 wise? Like, what would the starting 11 be for you to go, wow, he's woke up finally? And that's really interesting for me. I really want to know that. Locks, let's go with you, man. I know that you're a neutral, as people call it, but what 11 would you think? Do you know what? That's the best 11 England can pick there. Southgate's got it right.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't spoken to many people about England, but like, why I don't understand why Anthony Gordon ain't playing. And I know he didn't feature yesterday. I know he wasn't involved in the comeback or whatever, but. I just don't understand why he hasn't made it or why he hasn't started a game yet. He's just something else that hasn't been in the squad so far. Obviously, he's direct, and he's gonna, if you are gonna play Trippier, I suppose on the left, if you are gonna stick with that, you want someone like Gordon on the left to stay wide. And I think you saw the two up top. I've seen a lot of funny takes online and stuff and whatever, whether they're memes or people are being half serious or not about the Mike Bassett, two up top. But it's something that he hasn't done so far, and obviously it did make an impact. Obviously, Ivan Toney. Personally, I would go with Ivan Toney over Watkins. I know a lot of people said Watkins. And he's come on a couple of times, but I think Ivan Toney's the better option there alongside Kane. Personally, I know one of the reasons he came on as well was penalties. But yeah.
If we're gonna smash it long with Pickford, which is what we tend to do, even though we've got ballers at the back that can play with the ball with their feet, you might as well play Toney. But
how many free kicks did he win? How many free kicks did Toney win as well? He made him. He got in front of the defender and held it, and just didn't move. He bought the free kick in every time.
Tony's much better than Watkins, in my opinion. Like I know people will say the goals matter last season, but for me, Ivan Toney, I think has just got so much more about his game, man. Yes, he's a finisher and he's a killer in the box, but he can hold the ball up so well. He can be an absolute nuisance. He's much stronger, in my opinion. I think he uses his body a hell of a lot better than Ollie Watkins. So if we are going to go with someone either instead of or alongside Harry Kane, I think it has to be Ivan Toney. Sorry, Dan.
Oh, I was only going to say that that substitution, actually, if you heard the interview afterwards, has obviously caused a little bit of issue as well, where Southgate came out and said he was disgusted. And that's probably, if you listen to Southgate's interview, disgusted is one of the strongest words I've ever heard him use. So it did not go down. Well, he's very vanilla, isn't he? And he very rarely comes off his baseline. So to use a word like disgusted to describe how Ivan Toney felt about coming on to represent his country sort of tells you all you need to know. It's like, we've been here for 4 games now, and you've given me 30 seconds when we're about to go out. Like, fair play to Ivan Toney for coming on and actually doing something, because it had been very easy for him to come on with a chip on his shoulder and be like, nah, F you. Like, I'm not doing... Like, like Ben White. Ben White's read the situation, and what's going to happen at this Euros, and he's gone, see you later. I don't want anything to do with that, because I'm going to go and waste my summer, go to Germany, not get a minute. I'm going to be sat on the bench with Anthony, with Trent, and we're just going to be sitting there bitching about what we could do on the pitch. And he's obviously creating, bar the guys that he loves, now he's creating like a secondary clique of toxic atmosphere. And that kind of showed for me when it was described that Ivan Toney was disgusted, and they've made up now, because no one coming on for England should be disgusted that they're being asked to represent their country. And that kind of tells me that this happy camp that he's had before is no longer. And I think that's why he was so happy taking players in the past, like Connor Cody, players like that, who he referred to as good travellers. But like, if Connor Cody come on for 30 seconds, he wouldn't be disgusted that Gareth had asked him to come on. So it just kind of tells me that although Ivan Toney is a great player, and I've kind of alluded to a couple of reasons why I never sort of wanted him to join Chelsea or anything like that, I feel like players like Ivan Toney and other players, that although they can offer a lot on the pitch, are they disrupting this England camp? And I kind of wonder whether that's kind of created a bit of toxic... Like, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but as soon as you start getting clicks, which Southgate's worked so hard on removing for England, it kind of upsets the chemistry a little bit. And as much as Ivan Toney affected the game yesterday, I don't see him getting many more minutes, because I see Southgate potentially maybe holding a grudge.
A grudge.
Yeah.
Do you know what my worry is? I honestly, I'm terrified. But we took Luke Shaw. Joe alluded to it before. He's going to start Luke Shaw, and I guarantee what will happen. 10 minutes after starting him, he'll pull up and he'll be injured. He'll be gone. This is another situation that we've completely... that he's ballsed up. Why are we taking one left back who isn't even fit? I go back to what I was talking about with Trippier, who isn't even fit. I feel sorry for Luke Shaw, because it's actually what you're seeing is fans are going against him now, and he's like, well, hang on. I was called up. If I'd have turned around and said no, what would you have said then? The other side of it as well, for me personally, selfishly, if he comes on and gets injured 10 minutes later, that's him out for the start of the season for us then. That's another mistake. So I honestly think he'll start him. I think he starts him against Switzerland. I can see it, because he's been edging back and back. First of all, he wasn't going to make it in the group stages, and he was on the bench for the last game. Then he was on the bench last night, couldn't start, but potentially could get minutes. I fear for this guy. I fear that he'll break down, honestly.
Can I just say as well
Saka looked
quickly,
good there, by the way.
Go on, Locks.
now the comment in the Joe will agree. The comment in the chat from JB Leaf Davis. I mean, I know it's a difficult one sometimes. Obviously, the prospect of Championship players getting called up for England. Joe, do you not agree? I think he should have been looked at least going to that with the lack of what was that, mate?
He can't defend. He's going to get murdered in the Premier League. He's good going forward. Don't get me wrong. I think it's well. I'd rather we took someone like Tyreek Mitchell or something.
Tariq
like that.
Mitchell's the one we should have gone with, man.
Yeah.
Tariq Mitchell or what's his the Luton name or Chilwell
even
Luton name that
Alfie Doherty.
What's his name?
Alfie Doherty.
Alfie Doherty.
Yeah.
That lad was quality, man. Absolute quality.
You could have took bloody
he's
Lewis
English,
Hall. Anybody. Just
the
in
issue
case.
is, right, guys, as well, is that
you
the only player that's played left back consistently this season is in a top 4 team is Joe Gomez, and he's in the squad, and he's not even been given a sniff. Even last night, Konsa came on, and I was like, "What is this about?" You know, when extra time came, right, and it was like, okay, Saka's obviously livid. He's had to go left back. By the way, knuckled down, did a good job for the spell he was there. England looked far more balanced for that small period. Saka was left-sided left back than we did in extra time, than we did in before he went there. So it obviously showed that the balance is needed, right? I think Liveramento's an inverted left back, though. I'm sure we'd get the same problem there as we're getting with Trippier. I think you're looking at someone like Chilwell, and you're looking at someone like Doughty, someone like Tyreek Mitchell, that just add that natural balance that we saw last night from Saka. But then to make the change where Konsa comes on, it's like, why have you not identified Gomez as a left back? What? It's baffling, isn't it, to see? And we're all sat here thinking...
What was actually hilarious was when we went 2-1 up with Harry Kane, and then he goes, right, get Conor Gallagher and Konsa on quick.
And by the way,
Gallagher did a job, though. I thought Gallagher did a job, mate.
Yeah, I always think that in a team that's tired, that needs legs, Conor Gallagher will always do a job for you. Yeah. And in a game that's arguably based around the transition rather than being in control, Conor Gallagher will always do a job for you. There's no doubt about it. But arguably, when Southgate used him the other day to be the creative option in midfield, he got it so wrong. And this is the issue I have, is that these managers are being referred to as elite in terms of people like Gareth Southgate and even coaches like Steve Holland. And I'm looking at them and they look very, very puzzled, very, very concerning as a fan looking on, that these guys are able to misprofile so many high-quality individual players time and time again and then hinder this England team because of their failure to profile a player correctly when it's so obviously being done for them at their clubs. It's just mental.
Who do we want at left back? Who do we want at left back?
Me, mate, it's Saka. I know he's going to be livid, but he actually looked quality yesterday.
I actually agree. I actually agree now. I never disagreed with Wrighty when he said it. I thought it was mad when everyone kicked off about it. This is like a kid who will play anywhere, man. Like, trust me, I've seen it in my club. He'll come on and he'll give 100 wherever you put him. And people might think that Saka's better going forward. He is, absolutely. But if you could put Palmer out on the right, Saka left, and then you allow Foden and Palmer, I think you've got a real good chance there. But I don't know that Southgate will do it, man.
He won't meddle with his team.
Trent not being in this side as well, man, is a joke. I think Trent needs to be in this side, man. I don't mind Kyle Walker. I think he's done well over the years. I think he's been outstanding over the years. For me, not playing Trent is an absolute crime. And I think the people that say he can't defend, well, neither can Walker, really. He's not the best defender, is he? Let's be real.
How many times does Walker use his... Sorry, Dan. He uses his recovery pace to get him out of the mistake that he's already made. And people have literally given Kyle Walker a career off of his recovery pace. But Trent's going to make the same mistakes without the pace, but add way more going forward.
Aaron Wan-Bissaka syndrome. Aaron Wan-Bissaka syndrome. Makes a mistake, does that last-ditch tackle. Everyone goes, what a tackler. This guy can tackle. Massive mistakes.
Honestly, I think now, for me, you need to say, right, we got Rice, we got Stones, we got Gearhey when he's not suspended. Don't worry about defending Trent. You know you can do it, but don't really like doing it. You're so good going forward to worry about that defensively. That's why we got Rice and we got Stones and we got Gearhey. Play Foden, Rice, and Bellingham. Play Palmer on the left. Play what's the name? Not Palmer. Gordon on the left. Sorry, Palmer on the right, and then Kane up top. I think that is just go for it, man. Just go for it. We've got these players there, And you've still got Tony on the bench. You've still got Watkins if you want. You've still got Kobbie Mainoo and Conor Gallagher. You seem to like if you do want to shore things up. I just love to see him go for it, man. I just can't see it happening. I just really can't see it happening.
The issue is,
we're stinking our way to the cup, man.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Because he's got through now, I don't see him changing because he wasn't changing anyway, and now he's been rewarded for it. The issue is, right, is that Switzerland, obviously, if we put a bit of focus on them as our opponents, have absolutely dominated most games they've played in. Like, very
Drew
rarely.
Against Scotland.
Yeah.
Drew against Scotland, though, didn't they?
But, no, who did they play? Italy as well.
Italy were absolute dog shite.
Yeah, but Italy don't look very different to England.
We just spanked Italy, and that's how bad we are. We just spanked that Italian side. They're horrendous. I was so happy seeing them go out.
I think it would have been a very boring 0-0 or 1-0 if we'd have played Italy. I honestly do. I think we're both very similar in the way that we've been playing. It's just been very slow, very pedestrian. And Xhaka is absolutely running the show for Switzerland, by the way. It is almost like, I think he's taken his game to another level working with Xabi Alonso. And it's now, the way this Switzerland side are playing is fairly similar to how to how Xabi Alonso's Leverkusen have played. Like, they've got a left wing back drifting inside to create overloads in the midfield in, I can't remember, Abitsa or something like that is his name. He's been pretty influential in the way that they're playing. Xhaka's running the show. I think they will absolutely dominate the ball against England. And if we go out there with a side to, go on.
Do you know what I've got, what you say about Xhaka? I've got in my head, I've just got Simeone 98 vibes in my head. I really have. I just think, he's going to rile someone. He's going to rile something's going to happen. And Xhaka will be involved 100%.
I just think that we have to focus on transition against Switzerland. We absolutely do, because they've had very minimal teams to play against, as you said, in terms of Scotland and who else they played against. And even Italy, they were slow to transition and they tried to keep the ball and they moved it very slow. And it just, they dropped straight back into a 5 and it was very, very difficult. And if England play in the same way that they've been doing, we will lose to Switzerland. I have no doubt about that, by the way.
I agree. I think we'll lose to Switzerland as well. That'll be it. But we'll see. Joe thinks we're going to win it all because he's.
I'm with Joe. I'm with Joe. I'm sporting Joe. You've done it, mate.
Honestly, Southgate. But I know when you want to finish, but Southgate will be looking at this. He's happy to go all the way to pens, man. He honestly, he ain't arse, man. He'll go right. Give me 0-0s. He's not bothered, and we might win it. Who knows?
The one thing is that blind trust that Southgate's got is actually rewarding him, and you almost have to fair play to him because he's so set on his opinion being the right one. He's backing himself to the hill, and he's backing his boys to the hill. And fair play, he got rewarded for that yesterday. And that's one thing probably wraps it up quite nicely is, but the players did not stop yesterday, and as much slack as we've given all of them, right, for how poor they've been in terms of individual performances and what they could have done better. Fair play to them, every single one of them as a group, to actually go out there when we all thought it was done and step up like that, and then react that quickly into extra time as well. 100%. They've got something about them. They're boys that have been hurt before, and they want it. They want it just as much as every single one of us watching.
Well, listen, the players have all come off on form of unbelievable amounts of form. I mean, you look at Kane, Golden Boot, Bellingham, Ballon d'Or contender. Foden's just won the league. I know Saka and Rice haven't won anything, but they've gone in the title contenders and had good seasons again. You've got the likes at the back of Stones and Walker who have been successful. Even Pickford, had a good season. Everyone with clean sheets.
Mark Kobbie Mainoo, FA Cup winner. Kobbie Mainoo,
won a trophy.
Come on.
Cole Palmer, young player of the year.
Yeah, Cole Palmer is actually the other one I'd missed that I was going to mention because his goals are unreal.
We're in the quarterfinal and we've not even played well yet. What if we start to play well?
Imagine. We'll win it. If we play well, we win it.
I agree.
That comeback really could ignite something. Kane's goal really could ignite something now.
Dan, I agree with that. Dan, I agree wholeheartedly. If we play well, we could win it. I agree 100% with what you said there, mate. 100%.
We've got the squad. I mean, Spain and Germany, for me, are looking the two best at the moment, but things can change. But we've got the squad, that's for sure. I can't believe Spain and Germany have got each other. How have we got that end of the draw?
I'm buzzing with that.
I can't believe it.
Oh, it should be the final. I'm like, get in the bin, man. Get them out.
Yeah, get them out. Yeah, get everyone out. I mean, like France, Portugal, like Spain, Germany, they're all over. And we got Switzerland and Netherlands. Just like,
to be honest, I think it'll be Austria. I think they'll do.
Or Austria, yeah. I mean, to be fair, Austria are actually quite impressed me this so far. So man,
Ranić, big up Ralph Ranić. Yes,
it hurts. It hurts. That does, because I love Ralph, and I honestly watching him. I'm looking at United fans, and they're going, "This guy's all right," and I'm going, oh, just whatever. Off you go,
mate. Fair play, man. Listen, let's come to the second part with some transfer news, because obviously there is some business that's happened. Locks and Dan, Dewsbury-Hall, Leicester and Chelsea. First of all, Locks, what sort of player are Chelsea getting? And then I'll come to Dan to see if he's happy with the signing. What are you saying, Locks?
I don't know why Joe's laughing, first of all. I think Dewsbury-Hall. Well, I mean, it's expected. I think he was always going to be the sacrificial lamb, if you like, for this summer, obviously for financial fair play reasons. I've had it all season off Leeds fans, Southampton fans and Ipswich fans that Leicester cheated their way to the Championship title. That's actually not the case now, because we've complied with financial fair play for that season.
When's your points deduction? When do you get that?
Yeah, that's for the year before, mate. Pipe down.
Right,
pipe
okay.
down. That's for the Premier League. Come on, that's the Premier League.
Okay.
Look, I think he broke onto the scene at Leicester, I suppose, if you want to call it that. At 21 after a loan spell at Luton, and I think at Luton he scored a few goals in the Championship, so we always knew that he was capable of scoring goals. That didn't really happen too much for Leicester in the Premier League. I think he only had like two or three goals for Leicester in the Premier League. Obviously under Rodgers, he played quite deep. He played a lot of the time at a 6, which didn't really suit him. But I mean, when Enzo came in, Enzo knew exactly what he wanted. He wanted him to be that box crashing, if you like, midfielder, the high 8, and I have concerns over him at a club like Chelsea. I do get maybe Danny Drinkwater vibes a little bit. If things don't start well for him, or if it takes time for him to settle in or whatever, you've got so many good players at Chelsea. It's going to be so hard to keep that level up and remain in the team. But I think the thing that has probably made him go to Chelsea, or the thing that's convinced him, is Enzo Maresca, really. He knows what Enzo's like. He knows Enzo's system. I think, and he does suit that system, but again, it does. I just do fear, is it the Championship tax? I don't know. I mean, Joe, you were quite a big fan of him in the Championship.
If you don't have Dewsbury-Hall last season, you don't get promoted. I think you'll even say that. So.
Well, it depends who we had in place, doesn't it?
No, but without him,
if you take him out of the squad, of course, if there's no one there to replace him. So
he scored a number of late goals. He got a number of assists. Second best player in the league.
12 goals, 14 assists. 12 goals, 14
which is
assists.
great numbers, isn't it? Second best player in the league.
Behind who? Behind who?
Crescencio, Somerville. No, but Dewsbury-Hall, I think. But I tend to agree with Locks. I think Chelsea's a very big move for him. Very big move, and I'm not convinced on Enzo either. But hey, we'll wait to see how that transpires. But very big move, and it's.
Well, from what we've been led to believe as a fan base over the last few days, he's not pushed for a move. We've, not forced him out, but we've decided we have to sell him for PSR. But it did surprise me a little bit, the whole Brighton saga. I just thought that might have suited him more. He'd have 100% been a starter for them. I just can't call it. I can't call it. It'll be interesting to see how Enzo, how he lines up, what team he goes with on that first day of the season. But again, I fear of Championship tax. He did get these great numbers in the Championship, but Yannick Vestergaard was one of the best centre backs in the Championship last season. So there is a fear of Championship tax.
Well, Dan, last year you were turning into Brighton. This year you're turning into Leicester, mate. Again, he's got how many is that? Chilwell, Kante, Drinkwater, Fofana. Anyone else I'm missing? But
yeah, honestly, well, the issue is that the Brighton joke actually still rings true, because Brighton were obviously in there first for Dewsbury-Hall, and it looks like we might have just gone after their transfer business again. Obviously, we've got Winstanley, who's got strong links to Brighton, and Brighton have this algorithm, and if a player matches it, they're going to sign the player. And I think he's basically said, like, as soon as Brighton make a move, we attempt to hijack. and it just seems to be something that Chelsea aren't letting go. It's an issue for me in that sense. However, if this is to do with Maresca, and Maresca's got an input on recruitment here, I don't mind that, because I feel like Chelsea have had an approach where we've signed so many different players in so many different profiles, and our squad isn't even confirmed. We've got different manager every 6 months under the new ownership. Actually, this is one of the only signings I've looked at and gone, okay, at least the manager knows what he's getting here. He knows this player inside out. This player knows the system inside out and has worked. The only thing I look at it and go is, right, we're signing him for 30 million when he's going to be up against players in the squad who have literally cost like 3-4 times as much in Casado, Enzo, even Lavi has barely played a minute. Our midfield's overloaded as it is. Is he coming in as a starter under Maresca because Maresca knows who he is? He favours him. Personally, I don't think so, but I think he's got every chance of becoming a starter when Enzo Fernandez will flatter to deceive as he's already done. And I think potentially players like Conor Gallagher might be moved on as well. So this is an interesting one for me in terms of where he fits in, but I'm excited by him. He's an exciting player. I think he's a really strong dribbler. He's left-footed. They're both two things that I think our midfield's really lacked last season. We've not had someone who can cover the ground that Dewsbury-Hall can with the ball at his feet. And we've not had someone who's been left-footed and added balance to that side of the pitch as well. So I'm excited for it. Maresca's obviously given it the green light and probably pushed this to happen. And Dewsbury-Hall's probably, like you said, happy to come and work for Maresca again. So it's positives. I'm obviously just not sold by who the manager is. And if Dewsbury-Hall doesn't hit the ground running, then it's a championship player that Chelsea have sort of marqueed at this moment in time this summer. It's just it just adds to the disaster. Like if it all goes wrong, it's just going to be monumental failure because Chelsea are basically going after championship level talent as their marquee signings now.
I think he'd be a good signing, Dan. I think he'd be a good
I
signing.
hope he is. I really do.
I think you can have a squad like your midfield at the moment, for me, has no creativity in it. Caicedo, Lavia, Enzo, Conor Gallagher. There's no creative spark. There's no James Maddison. There's no Martin Odegaard. There's no Bruno Fernandes. There's no guy in there, is there? So I don't know that he'd be like that, but I think he could be a star. And I actually quite like him. I think he's a good footballer. Sorry, Joe, you were going to come in, bro.
No, it's just quite interesting. You were talking there about Chelsea hijacking Brighton and all this sort of stuff. Just because Somerville, the reason we've had to sell Gray before this PSR deadline is because Somerville's turned down clubs that have come in for him, and one of them clubs was Brighton. And obviously he's been linked to Chelsea a lot, so it makes me... Listen, Somerville doesn't turn down Brighton if he doesn't know something else is coming around the corner once the PSR deadline's passed. So it wouldn't surprise me if you see maybe Somerville rock up there as well, because I know they've been linked... Chelsea have been linked to him a few times. So it's just quite interesting you mentioned that Brighton stuff, because they actually came to get him, but we couldn't agree a deal. And, apparently Somerville turned it down and said, I don't want to go there. So,
Todd Bowley, mate. Todd Bowley going for the championship players now. That's what it is, Chelsea. Maybe. Yeah, that's what it is, man. Before I move, Locks, just quickly, what do you think Maresca can work at Chelsea?
I don't know, man. I have concerns. I mean, Joe knows more than anyone that, I was his biggest fan up until just after Christmas, and frailties started to show a little bit. I'd say he's not the most likable man in the world as well, as Joe knows. I suppose it's when the going gets tough, and that sounds silly because Leicester won the league and whatever, and how did the going get tough? But it did, and he did get some unfair criticism, I would say, at the start of the season. We were winning game after game, and he was getting some stick, and but after Christmas, when we did kind of falter a little bit, and he made some remarks towards Leeds at one point, which, riled up a few fans and a lot of arrogance. I mean, many times last season, he actually said that, the fans, if they doubt me, I'll quit. Basically, that's what he said. And the fans did doubt him, and he's quit. So technically, but I think, it's a bit of moaning as well, quite a bit of moaning about the board at times as well. So maybe, Dan, you might have a bit of that in the future. But look, I think, I fear for him if things don't start well quickly. He could surprise me, and, he could come out and, you could absolutely not run away with the lead, but you know what I mean? Win game after game, whatever, at the start of the season and whatever. But I fear for him, if the going did get tough at Chelsea. And that actually takes me on to Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall as well. Imagine Enzo's gone by the end of the season and you've got Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall there, then it's like, if you've got another manager coming in and he's got a champ, it's a bit harsh to call him a championship player because he played in the Prem as well, but, technically a championship player there, what happens to him then? So, Enzo definitely could work. His system, his style of play, of course, it could be.
What is that, by
Chelsea,
the way?
with the caliber?
Slow or like what are we talking about his style of play? What are we expecting? Because I think that's the issue for me is the Chelsea fans will get on his back if that's below par.
It's
and
slow.
Right.
It's slow.
heavily possession-based football, camped on the edge of the box, very pep, round, right, left, let's go again, let's try again. I think on Enzo, it'll be interesting to see how he works. I think, listen, he almost bottled a 17-point lead in the championship. Yep. Almost.
Why was that, though? Like, what was the reason behind that?
I don't know if it was the pressure. I mean, maybe Locks can tell you more because Leeds were just batting games win after win after win. Maybe it was something to do with that. I think the Leeds game had a lot to do with it. They were winning 1-0 for a period and then Leeds end up winning in the last couple of minutes and maybe it rattled the players a little bit as well. But eventually he did get it over the line. So I think Locks, I always remember you telling me one thing, which I think you've got to give him credit for. There was one time where the keeper, Christensen, was going long and he'd said to him at half-time, if you continue to go long, I am bringing you off. And I think a manager that has that sort of principles and is willing to do that, I think, fair play, because that's what you want. But I almost feel, again, Chelsea have been hoodwinked just like Bayern Munich have. If you know Pep, you're going to get a job. I just think it's wild to make the jump from Leicester City, no disrespect to Leicester City, but a team that won the championship up to Chelsea. It's mad. I think it's wild, and I don't think it'll be a success personally, but hey-ho, who knows?
I'd say the majority, and this isn't, going over the top, the majority of Leicester fans did see this season, if Enzo stayed, going a bit like Burnley's last year. The kind of inability, maybe just, refusing to change the way we play, because of the principles. And, I suppose some people commend that, but if your job is to stay in the Premier League, obviously, as you see with Company, it didn't work. It wasn't successful. So, we'll see. It's hard to tell, I think, at this stage, obviously, with the quality difference in the players that you've got compared to ours. But yeah, I'm 50-50 at the minute whether it will stay.
You've got to praise as well, though. Like, in terms of, obviously, I look at Ricardo Pereira, for example, when he was inverted into midfield, he was phenomenal. I think Ndidi as well, he redefined his role within that side as well, within that Leicester side, and he was one of your key players. So there are a lot of positives to his to his management, but I don't know. We'll wait and see. I think it's too big of a jump, surely, but hey-ho. We'll see, won't we?
Yeah,
you saw Ndidi as well. Wilfred Ndidi. Look what he did with Wilfred Ndidi. Like,
that's what I was just saying. Yeah,
that's what I mean. Yeah. So Ricardo Pereira, like Joe said, never played inverted ever, and he was one of our best players. And Wilfred Ndidi, the defensive midfielder, was not a 10, but a high 8. He was one of our most attacking
times, man.
Exactly.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah.
He was good.
And we missed him as well when you said about when we nearly bottled a 17-point gap. That in that period, indeed, he was injured. We missed him, and Enzo turned him into that type of player. So, yeah, there's things to get excited for, but it's too early to say. I would be surprised if he's there in 2 years. That's what I'll say. I can't see him being there for definitely not the duration of his contract.
Wow, looks, you're giving him 2 years. I'll give him I'll give him till Christmas.
2 months. 2 months, man. 2 months. Fucking hell.
Look, I don't know much about the guy. I don't think he's outstanding, but I certainly don't think he's a shambles of a manager.
Pep light, Dan. That's all it is. It's Pep.
He even looks like him. Unlike Arteta, he actually looks like Pep. Yeah, so.
There's all of them are now Pep. Did you used to go to school where Pep got? Yes. Would you like a job?
Yeah.
Unbelievable, wasn't it? Didn't you just get Burnley destroyed in the Premier League? Yeah. Would you like to go and manage Bayern Munich now? Like, Jesus Christ, it's a madness. And the talent poor managers, by the way, is another joke, but that's another story. It's probably another podcast. Let's come to you, Joe, because Archie Gray. Get the tissues out, man. Get the tissues out. He's leaving. It's a sad day for Leeds. I really like the kid. I don't say that I've seen a lot of it. Mate, you got to get rid of it, bro. It's got to go in the bin now. Or sell it. Don't throw it away. Mate, it looks like he's going to bloody Tottenham. What? Talk to me about the deal, man. How much is it? What's happening with it?
There's loads of mixed reports. It's not gone down well with the Leeds United fan base, but hey ho, you've just got to get on board with it. Unfortunately, this is football now in 2024 with these stupid PSR regulations and stuff, and he's pure profit and all that jazz. I hate saying that. But it is what it is. He's the best academy product to come out of the football club in generations, and we've had some very good players come through. If we think about, Spurs, for example, Aaron Lennon rocked up at Spurs and didn't have a half bad career, did he? You know what I mean? There's been other academy products that have come through, but he's streets ahead of them. At 18-year-old, he's a phenomenal talent. Let's call a spade a spade. He's going for more than what Jude Bellingham's gone for, so that counts for something. I'm not saying. I know it's a lot of people now will be like, you can't make that comparison, but we were all laughing at Jude Bellingham when his number was retired, weren't we? So let's wait and see. But listen, when it was originally announced that he was going to Brentford, I was sick because I was like, I'm gonna now have to watch all this football and hear commentators gush about our star boy fulfilling his potential at fucking Griffin Park Community G-Tech Stadium, whatever it's called these days. So I was fuming about that. So Spurs almost feels like a natural progression, and I don't think he'll stay at Spurs. Spurs, you could argue, and Spurs fans might not like it, is also a stepping stone club. You just have to look at your Modric's, your Bales, your Kanes, that then go on to them elite clubs. So if Gray does fulfil his potential, he may even surpass, Spurs and move on again. The deal's good, like, obviously, in terms of finances. Like, at the end of the day, it's about 40 million because we're getting 30 million cash and then we're getting Joe Rodon for 10. Or however, I think the release clause was 40 million. I don't know how they're structuring it. Leeds are saying one thing, Spurs are saying another, but ultimately we're getting a centre-back that was with us last season, that was one of the best centre-backs in the division, so we've got some continuity there. And, they're getting a very good player. I'm actually excited to see what Ange's going to do with him because he's a centre.
That was my question. Where is his best position?
Well, he's a centre midfielder. He's a centre midfielder by trade. But it's quite interesting now when he broke into the first team that Farkas played him at right back, and when he's played for England at youth levels, he's also been played at right back. So it's going to be interesting to see how Ange sees him because we know that he likes to play. I mean, it's always front foot football. He's better than your Emerson Royals and that, I would argue, even just at 18. So I'm really excited to see how he does. Will he play him in midfield? I think he'll play him at right back and have him invert that way. Personally, I took Pelters earlier parts of the season, saying he's a very good right back. He's not a right back, and he ended up seeing off Jed Spence. He saw off Connor Roberts, who we got on loan. He saw off Sam Byram. He ended up making that position his own, you know what I mean? So we cut Spencer's loan short because Gray was playing ahead of him, and he was a shit anyway. But anyway, that's for another day on Jed Spence. But, Archie Gray, phenomenal talent, and I think the world's his oyster. By all accounts, he didn't want to go, Dan. The club have had to do it by PSR. There's all this talk of a release clause where suddenly means that the player wanted to leave. That's not always the case. He's still, just because they hit a release clause, the player doesn't have to go, right? And what we're led to believe we've got two factions now in the fan base: those that are backing the 49ers and those that are backing the Gray family. Because what's upsetting is it's a dynasty at Leeds United. Frank Gray, Eddie Gray, his dad as well. We've also got Harry Gray in the academy, who's a striker, and apparently he's better than Archie. So now there's the worry that because the Gray family have been upset that we're going to fucking lose him now because City have been sniffing. So, that's disappointing. But I think Spurs have got a real player on the hands, and I'm actually excited to see how he does in the Premier League, mate.
So does he play as a 6, an 8, a 10, a box-to-box?
He's a box-to-box, mate. I would say he was more of a box-to-box midfielder, for sure. He needs someone alongside him in there. But I honestly think he'll play him at right back. I think he'll play him at right back, to be honest. But Dan will be able to tell you when we played Chelsea in the was it the Carabao Cup? Was the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup? He bossed that game, by the way, and he was up against Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo. So that says a lot for him. I know he lost that game, but he was phenomenal that game. And it's a bit of a shame that we haven't got to see him in centre midfield for Leeds, but I don't think Farker ever thought that for him. And listen, we as fans can say players play in certain positions, but I'll never forget Everyone wanted to sell Calvin Phillips. He was playing as a 10 at times under Thomas Christensen. Bielsa came in and said to him, "You're a 6." And he went, "What? What are you talking about?" He then ended up going to be, as Dan said earlier, England's best player for a couple of seasons. And Bielsa was the one that made him a 6. So I think sometimes as fans we have to go, do you know what? Probably the managers know better than us, if we're being honest. So I think he'll be a right back long term. I think that's why Liverpool and co were interested. For that, and we know the way football's going. If you can play right back and centre midfield, you're perfect, aren't you? Because you can invert. That's perfect. So
yeah, it sounds a perfect signing. To be fair, Spurs need players like that, in my opinion. I don't actually think the first 11 at Tottenham is that bad. I think the strength in depth is just not there at all. And I think if Archie Gray comes in and competes for those positions, and it's going to be a good signing, I must say, at 40 million. Before we close, I want to just touch Dan Branthwaite. Manchester City have come in now and said they want him. I think that's mad, really. How do Man City need Branthwaite when they've got Ake and they've got Gvardiol and they've got Diaz and Stones and what's his name, Akanji? It's crazy. But are Man United going to get this over the line, brother, or is this not going to happen for you?
No chance. We went in with a couple of pence and got told to piss off, didn't we? Look, the main thing today, it's Dan Ashworth Day. It looks like that has finally happened. He's finally coming to United and he can finally get his job done. But then we go back to the whole Ten Hag, right? Ten Hag staying, but he's got to get his transfers right. Who's his first signing going to be? It's going to be a Dutch centre-back. Brilliant. It's going to be a Dutch centre-back that he's already managed. It's going to be De Ligt. And look, if you'd have said De Ligt to me 2 years ago, I'd have been buzzing. I'd have been absolutely buzzing. But we're looking at a De Ligt that's gone to Juve, it's not worked. Gone to Bayern, it's not worked. Now he's coming to United, probably for big money. It's just the revolving door. I'd like to hope that it's just paper talk, but it seems to be just generating more and more traction. So we'll see. I mean, look, at the end of the day, my main thing was Branthwaite, English tax. You were always going to have to pay a lot of money for him. And you say, do City need him? But I go back to what Sir Alex Ferguson used to do. He used to have that conveyor belt of players moving. Just when you thought he had everything where it needed to be, he'd bin one off. That's it now. They're done in my eyes. And he'd bring that other one through him. Branthwaite could go on to be a monster. He could go on to be an absolute monster, that boy. He's built like a brick shit house. He's quick. He's left-footed, which is, as a centre-back, an English centre-back, is a commodity. I think that we don't have that much of. So, look, more power to him. For me now, Manchester United have just got to get their signings done. And you can't tell me Dan Ashworth's been sat there on his backside doing his gardening for the last 6-7 months. There's obviously a plan in place there. It's quite funny how it ties in with the 1st of July. It's suddenly done. All of a sudden, bang, we can afford to bring him in. I think this PSR is just going across the world. You got Chelsea, Everton, Villa, basically doing Football Manager. You know what I mean? Oh, quick, add a manager, sell some players. Right, okay, we'll carry on again now. It's just bonkers.
How bad is it? How bad is it, Dan? Right, and this really pisses me off that Newcastle can now be okay with PSR because they've swapped to sporting director. I'm like, what we doing? Next thing we'll be going office staff. Let's trade them. Do that. You know what I mean? It's mad.
You know, Janice in accounts, right? We want 2 million for her. 2 million for Janice in accounts. Because I'm telling you now, Janice, get home. You're on gardening leave for 18 months. We got a contract.
It's bad crack. I tell you, you've got your next manager in Van Nistelrooy as well, I think.
Oh, honestly. Do you know something? To know that Ruud van Nistelrooy is going to be working alongside Højlund, oh my God.
Right? As soon as it goes poor for Ten Hag, he will get it as interim till the end of the season. And if it's a success, there you go. I think that's.
Do you know what, Joe? I'd happily take it because we were linked with fucking Southgate for so long. So I'll take it. I'll take it. In fact, I'd have Janine in account so above Southgate as it is United manager. So look. I think we can all agree the transfer window now the Euros is starting to come towards the end. It's going to ramp up massively. I mean. Another thing I will say, I just find it so boring that like BBC were like, it's the unofficial deadline day, the 30th of June. I'm like, do me a favour. Is this where we're going now? Is this honestly where we're going? So we'll see. It's going to be exciting. There's going to be a lot of transfers, but Branthwaite, no chance.
Yeah, Everton want a lot of money. They're looking at Calvert-Lewin, Onana, and Branthwaite. If anybody wants them, they're about 100 million a pop. It's mad what
Onana's a
people are now
top
having.
player, by the way. Onana will be very good in a very good side. Like, I think he's great, Onana.
Young as well,
call-
Joe.
When
Just
Arsenal
don't call him Andre. Do you remember that?
Oh,
That
that
was
was
clever,
brilliant.
wasn't it? It blew my mind how English he sounded. I was
Yeah.
like, what's
Yeah,
going
Yeah,
on
the switch
here?
up was crazy, wasn't
It
it?
was, wasn't it? Andre ain't even my name.
My name, bro. I was like, who is this? Mate, I genuinely Googled it to see if he was born in London. I can't even lie to you. I was like,
is
is
he?
he
Apparently,
born in
he's an
London?
unbelievable singer as well.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Mate.
apparently
so-
he records.
Talented boy,
Yeah,
mate.
of
Talented boy.
course he does.
Yeah, I don't
Arsenal,
mind
aren't you
him.
looking at him?
Yeah, we're
Aren't you
looking
looking-
at him.
yeah.
We are, but I don't know how heavily it is. The rumours are we're linked with everyone in midfield, but I think 50 million is what I'm hearing from Everton for 23 years old. Can kind of play in the 6 and the 8, but he's more of a 6. I like him. I don't want to sound silly here when I say this, and I said this earlier with Lee. I do like it. I do like him, but we need to kind of look at Thomas Partey and think that's the level. And when Partey's fit, without being rude, he makes Onana look dreadful. Like he's nowhere near that level. Like Partey is ridiculously good, man. I know people think he's made of glass, and he is, but when he's fit, man, like he's one of the best in the league, man. It's scary how good he is. And Rice as well there. But we do need a midfielder that's going to come in. We might even need a couple because we don't know what's happening with Partey. Jorginho signed for another season, but he's not going to last forever, and that just leaves us Rice. El Nenny's now gone, which I know he didn't play, but we need to obviously have the numbers there, so someone's got to come in to replace him. We might need 2. I mean, Yusuf Fofana is one that I would love. Big fan of him, and could probably get him quite cheap, to be fair. But we've also linked with Zubimendi. We're linked with Joshua Kimmich as well. I think would be a phenomenal signing for us, 29 years old. So I think there's options for Arsenal. And Onana is definitely one that people are looking at and Arsenal are looking at. I think we could do a lot worse. I think, like Joe says, he's a very good player. But whether Everton will have to sell. And this is the thing. Newcastle don't have to sell anymore. If Everton go and sell a couple of their young players, they won't have to sell anymore. Do you know what I mean? This is all a madness, all this PSR thing, by the way. It's
The Everton one's
nothing.
weird though, isn't it? Like, are they gonna basically get another point deduction rather than like abiding by PSR rules? Is that kind of what they're saying by not selling Braithwaite and not selling
Maybe.
other players?
Maybe.
I just wonder if they're trying their best to just sort of go at it and go, look, we're not gonna bow down. Because it is kind of, I think this is where the rule is so flawed that teams are literally having their hands forced when financially they don't even need to sell. Newcastle United are the richest football club in the world. They do not need the money, but to fit around Premier League rules, like they actually have to force their hand into selling players. It's
Elliot, the fact they've sold Elliot Anderson's mad.
Yeah, I saw
That's
because they
bonkers. That's bonkers.
Mental.
I think that's the
35
saddest
million.
part of it all. The saddest part is the academy side of it.
Yeah.
Where you won't get any more of these one club careers. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. So, we've seen loads of them in the past in England, and you just won't see it now. We've Archie Gray, Kiernan, Dewsbury-Hall, and obviously Anderson, and all these players. You won't see it anymore. And hopefully the rules change soon, but. It's just
we've been begging for Scott McTominay to be one of them, to be fair, but it doesn't seem to bloody happen. Year in, year out. Take him, he's an academy graduate. Take him, it's profit. Have him.
Will he go this time? He's been linked to Fulham, hasn't he? Do you think he'll go?
Oh, mate, he's got a lifetime contract. He's going bloody nowhere, isn't he? He'll end up taking Janini accountant's job. He'll be there that long. I'm telling you,
Mate, at least you've still got the homegrown player, Dan. Sir Jonathan Evans.
Sir Jonathan Evans
man.
of Manchester. That man can do no wrong. I could walk in and find him in bed with my wife, and I'd high five him. I love that man. Absolutely adore that man. Do you know what the funny thing is, though, right? All this stuff come about the PSR. No one come near a United player. I was like, we might get rid of someone. Nah. Nah.
Mate, let's see. It might be interesting now, Ashworth Day. You might have a different structure and see what happens, man. But I'm actually interested, out of all the clubs, to see what Manchester United do now, because Ten Hag under this new structure, I'm really interested, because I haven't been impressed with him so far.
He's shite, damn man. He's shite. I can't believe they give him He's shit.
2 trophies in 2 years. Chill out. Hang on a minute. I'm about to listen to you talk about
Southgate.
give us the best years of our lives.
So you're telling me Ten Hag gave you a better time than Fergie? Then is that what you're telling me?
Jesus Christ, no chance. No, but what I said this, and I don't want to touch it too much. I have said this. I would have rather have kept him than the people that were out there available. 100%. 100%.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see, man. Listen, there's some football on, and I'm sure that people are going to go and watch it. My thanks to all of you for being here. Big up to Joe, man. Thanks so much for coming on and bringing everyone over, bruv. Always a pleasure having you on.
Hurry up and get promoted, Joe. I hate saying as a United fan to Leeds. Don't miss you in the chats, mate. Definitely.
Easy 6 points as well for you, isn't it, mate? So
I know, mate. Yeah, crying out.
No, you ain't got Archie Gray, man. Ooh, no, I don't know. I was
Somerville
begging
next,
Leeds.
mate. Somerville next. He's going this week, I reckon.
Oh, mate, is he going Liverpool then, or is he going?
I don't know. He's turned down Brighton, so he must have some offers somewhere. Money.
I was here in Liverpool, man. I was here in Liverpool, but maybe. We'll see. Big up to Dan as well for coming on. Big up to Chelsea Dan for coming on. Make sure you go follow these two, man. United First and BDB Dan as well. If you're not over at Just Joe, then please make sure that you do that. And Locks, man, pleasure. Always good having you on, my bro. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you more this season, bro.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, like I said, it's been a long time, so yeah, glad Leicester are back as well.
Joe is as well. He told me.
Don't get comfortable.
Yeah, don't, mate. Where your points deduction? I'll wave
Stevie Cooper. Steve, do your song, Joe. Your Stevie Cooper song. I joined Joe's stream the other day, and I just see him bloody singing about Steve Cooper. I'm like, what's going on here?
I can't even remember. I tell you what was the funniest thing of the summer was his airbrush. By the way, when they made Steve Cooper look like David Beckham, man, I was like, who's this guy? That's not the Steve Cooper I know. Mad,
he's had some work done though. To be fair to me, he had some work done.
He's definitely had some. Yeah,
he's had his eyelids tucked up or something like that, mate. Yeah.
He went to Turkey. He's getting his teeth done next.
Mate, I don't actually mind him. I liked the job he did at Forest. So let's see what he can do at Leicester, man. Let's see.
He's shit, mate. He's fucking taking us down, mate.
No, do you know what though? He for the situation you're in, and I know you won't agree with me, but he was a better appointment than Graham Potter for the situation you're in.
Yeah, yes, he was.
But you won't have it. But he
another one that was linked with United. Another one.
That's still United.
Yeah. All I see is 11
England
wins.
Job anyway, I reckon. Potter.
Yeah,
I think Potter's lined up for England.
I agree.
Yeah, he's going England after Southgate finally goes. He's going England 100%, mate. 100%. Listen, we're going to get out of here, people. Go enjoy the football. Big up to all of you coming on. Smash the like. Make sure you follow everyone, and we'll see you next time. Peace.